Chosen ones, today I want to talk to you about something very special. We are approaching a unique time, a moment when spiritual energies, divine cycles, and the signs of the Creator align to guide us toward a new chapter in our lives. 2025 will not just be another year on the calendar, but an important milestone for all of us who feel God's call in our hearts. It is a time of transformation, reflection, and action. A time to align ourselves with the greater purposes that the Creator has for each of us. Have you ever felt that something big is about to happen? That there is a change in the air, something we cannot explain, but that we feel deeply? Well, 2025 brings with it that energy. It is a year that carries the power of the number 9 in numerology, a number that speaks of wisdom, the closing of cycles, and renewal. It is as if God is calling us to look within ourselves, to leave behind what no longer serves us, and to embrace what He has prepared for our future. In addition, 2025 will be ruled by the wood snake in Chinese astrology, a symbol of transformation, intuition, and wisdom. The snake teaches us the importance of renewing ourselves, of shedding the old skins that no longer belong to who we are. It is an invitation to grow spiritually, to seek the truth, and to live according to the purpose that God has placed in our lives. But be aware, this will not be an easy year. Transformation requires courage, requires faith, and requires us to fully trust in God's plans. It is a time of choices, of important decisions, and of alignment with divine will. And that is why we are here today, to reflect together on what this year means for us, the chosen ones of God. So if you feel in your heart that this message is for you, I invite you to stay with me until the end. Let's explore together what 2025 has in store for us, and how we can prepare to live this new cycle with wisdom and faith. But before we continue, take a moment to subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share this message with other chosen ones. This way, you help us spread this light to more people. The number 9 carries a very special energy, and in 2025, it will be a guide for all of us who feel God's call. This number is a symbol of wisdom, completion, and renewal. It reminds us that just as one cycle comes to an end, another is about to begin. It is as if God is telling us that the time has come to close what no longer serves our purpose, and to make room for the new. For the chosen ones, this means a clear call. It is time to reflect, to act with generosity, and to live as instruments of divine truth. The number 9 also teaches us about the importance of wisdom. It is like that elder who, at the end of his journey, shares everything he has learned. It shows us that true wisdom is not just in knowledge, but in compassion, in the ability to look at others with love, and to act with kindness. For us, who have been chosen by God, this means that we must be light in this world. We should act with generosity, not only in great gestures, but also in the small actions of everyday life. A smile, a word of comfort, an act of kindness. All of this has the power to transform lives. In 2025, the energy of the number 9 also invites us to live in truth. This will be a year in which many hidden truths will come to light. God will illuminate everything, revealing what was hidden, both in the world around us and within ourselves. This can be uncomfortable because the light of truth shows us not only what is good, but also what needs to be corrected. But remember, God does not reveal these things to condemn us, but to set us free. He wants us to leave behind everything that separates us from our divine essence, everything that prevents us from fully living the purpose He has for us. Living in truth means living with integrity. There is no longer room for masks, for lies, or for living superficially. God calls us to be authentic, to be true, because it is in truth that we find freedom. When we live according to God's truth, we become instruments of His light and His love. And that is what the world needs now. People who live with courage, with faith, and with compassion. Another important aspect of the number 9 is altruism. This will be a year to serve, to put love into practice. But serving does not just mean performing great deeds. True altruism lies in the small gestures, in the simple actions we take every day. An act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a positive thought directed at someone. All of this has a profound impact. God calls us to be beacons of compassion in a world that is thirsty for love and hope. Remember that it is not the size of the gesture that matters, but the intention behind it. A small act of kindness, done with love and repeated consistently, can change the course of a life. The number 9 teaches us that actions done with kindness become permanent. They take root, grow, and bear fruit. Therefore, do not give up on doing good, even if it seems that no one is watching or that nothing is changing. God sees, and He is working through you. Moreover, the number 9 challenges us to be persistent. It reminds us that walking with God requires dedication and consistency. It is not about doing something good once and then stopping. It is about living a life of kindness, faith, and love. It is about repeating the right actions, even when we do not see immediate results. Think about it. 3 right actions can change the course of a life. 3 words of encouragement can bring hope to someone who is about to give up. 3 sincere prayers can open doors that seemed closed. God calls us to be consistent, not to give up, because He is working in us and through us. The number 9 also reminds us that, to move forward, we need to close cycles. This means leaving behind what no longer serves us, what prevents us from growing spiritually. It could be a habit, a thought, an attitude, or even a relationship. God calls us to clear the soil of our hearts, to free ourselves from what weighs us down, so that we can plant new seeds and reap fruits in the future. Chosen ones, 2025 will be a year of transformation. It will be a year to reflect on who we are, on what we are doing, and on how we can align even more with God's purposes. It is a year to live with wisdom, compassion, and faith. God is calling us to be light in a world that needs it so much. In 2025, in addition to the energy of the number 9, we are guided by the rule of the wood snake in Chinese astrology. The snake is a profound symbol that teaches us about wisdom, intuition, and transformation. For us, chosen ones of God, this energy is a powerful reminder of how the Creator works in our lives, transforming us from the inside out. Just as the snake sheds its skin to grow, God calls us to leave behind what no longer serves us, so that we can emerge renewed and ready to fulfill His work. The snake is a symbol of reflection and planning. It does not act impulsively, but with care and strategy. This energy invites us to seek knowledge, to reflect on our choices, and to plan our next steps wisely. As chosen ones, we have the responsibility to discern our paths in light of divine will. We cannot allow ourselves to be swayed by the distractions of the world or by hasty decisions. This is a time to listen to God's voice, to seek His guidance, and to align our plans with the purposes He has for us. However, the introspection that the snake inspires also brings a warning. There is a danger in isolating ourselves too much. The snake, in its reflective nature, can lead us to a state of isolation, where we disconnect from others. But God created us to live in communion, to share our ideas, our experiences, and our struggles with other chosen ones. It is essential to balance the time for reflection with connection to those who share the same faith and purpose. Together, we can strengthen each other, learn from one another, and collaborate to fulfill God's greater plan. The transformation that the snake symbolizes is not only external, but primarily internal. God calls us to look within ourselves, to identify what needs to be left behind, and to allow Him to shape us according to His will. This may mean abandoning habits, thoughts, or behaviors that distance us from our purpose. It may mean forgiving, releasing hurts, or letting go of the fear that prevents us from moving forward. Just as the snake renews its skin, we are called to spiritually renew ourselves, to shed the old and embrace the new that God has for us. This renewal, however, requires courage. It is not easy to leave behind what is familiar, even if we know it is not good for us. But God gives us the strength to face this process. He reminds us that as we transform, we are drawing closer to Him and to the purpose He has for our lives. Transformation is an act of faith, an act of surrender, where we trust that God is in control and that He is guiding us to something greater. The snake also teaches us about the importance of intuition. In 2025, we will be called to listen more to God's voice in our hearts. Often He speaks to us subtly, through feelings, thoughts, or signs. We need to be attentive, sensitive to His direction, so that we can make decisions aligned with His will. Intuition, when guided by God, is a powerful tool that helps us discern what is right and what is best for our lives. Finally, the energy of the snake reminds us that transformation is not an end in itself, but a means to fulfill God's work. By renewing ourselves, by aligning with divine purpose, we are preparing to be instruments of His will. God calls us to be agents of change, to bring His light and His love to the world. Just as the snake is a symbol of wisdom, we are called to share this wisdom with others, to be examples of faith, compassion, and courage. Chosen ones, 2025 will be a year of great reflection and transformation. It will be a time to look inward, to seek God's wisdom, and to renew ourselves. But it will also be a time to connect with one another, to share our journeys, and to work together for the greater purpose that God has for us. May we embrace this energy with faith, courage, and the certainty that God is guiding us every step of the way. 2025 will be a year of endings and new beginnings. It is a time when God calls us to finalize old cycles, to leave behind what no longer belongs to our purpose, and to make room for the new that He wishes to plant in our lives. Think of it as a spiritual garden. For new seeds to grow and bear fruit, it is necessary to clear the soil, remove the weeds, and prepare the ground. This process can be challenging, but it is essential for us to fully live the divine plan. Ending cycles means, first and foremost, freeing ourselves from habits, behaviors, and even thoughts that distance us from God. Often we carry things that no longer serve us, but that, out of habit or fear, we insist on holding on to. It could be a relationship that prevents us from growing, a negative thought pattern, or even an attitude that we know is not aligned with God's will. 2025 invites us to look at these areas of our lives with honesty and courage, and to make the decision to leave them behind. This process of spiritual cleansing requires us to make peace with the past. Forgiveness and gratitude will be fundamental tools on this path. Forgiving is not just about releasing the other person, but also about freeing ourselves from the weight we carry. When we forgive, we open space in our hearts for God to work. Similarly, gratitude helps us see the blessings we have received, even in difficult moments. By looking at the past with gratitude, We can recognize the lessons learned and God's hand in each situation, which gives us strength to move forward. Leaving the past behind does not mean ignoring it or pretending it did not exist. On the contrary, it means learning from it, being thankful for the lessons, and moving forward with a lighter heart. God calls us to release what weighs us down because He has something new and greater prepared for us. But to receive the new, we need to be willing to let go of the old. 2025 will also be a year to plant new seeds. After clearing the soil, it is time to prepare the ground for the future. This is the ideal moment to start projects that have a positive impact, both in our lives and in the lives of those around us. God invites us to be catalysts for transformation in our communities, to be instruments of His will, and to spread His light and His love. Furthermore, the introspective energy of the wood snake can lead us to moments of indecision or procrastination. Introspection is important because it helps us reflect, seek wisdom, and plan our steps carefully. But if we are not careful, it can paralyze us. We can get lost in thoughts, doubts, and fears, postponing important decisions or failing to act when necessary. That is why, as chosen ones, we need to be attentive. We need to balance reflection with action, introspection with trust in God. Indecision can arise because many times we want to have all the answers before acting. We want to know exactly how things will happen. We want the guarantee that everything will work out. But the truth is that walking with God requires faith. We will not always have all the answers, but we can be sure that God is with us, guiding each step. He gives us the strength and wisdom we need at the right moment. Therefore, when you feel doubt or fear, remember to pray, to seek God's direction, and to trust that He is in control. Another challenge that may arise in 2025 is the temptation to give up in the face of difficulties. When we are in the midst of a transformation process, it is common to face obstacles. Things may not happen as quickly as we would like, or we may encounter resistance, both from outside and from within ourselves. But it is precisely in these moments that we need to remember that God never abandons us. He is always by our side, strengthening us and encouraging us to continue. Chosen ones, God did not promise us a life without challenges, but He promised that He would be with us in all circumstances. He gives us the strength to overcome obstacles, the wisdom to make the right decisions, and the peace that surpasses all understanding, even in the most difficult moments. This is the time to hold on to these promises, to remember that we are not alone, and to trust that God is working in our favor, even when we cannot see it. The challenges of 2025 also offer us a unique opportunity for growth. Every difficulty we face is a chance to become stronger, wiser, and closer to God. It is through challenges that we learn to trust Him more, to depend less on our own strength, and to recognize that everything we have and are comes from Him. Therefore, instead of fearing challenges, face them as opportunities for spiritual growth. Ask yourself, what does God want to teach me through this? How can I use this experience to become a better person and more aligned with His purpose? I want to emphasize and make it clear that the true meaning of the number 9 and the snake, spiritually, is deeply connected to transformation, wisdom, and divine purpose. The number 9, in spiritual numerology, is the symbol of the closing of cycles and the preparation for new beginnings. It represents the wisdom acquired throughout a journey, as if it were the final stage of learning, where we are called to share what we have learned and to act with compassion and altruism. The 9 reminds us that life is made up of cycles and that to move forward, we need to leave behind what has already fulfilled its purpose. It is a number that invites us to look within, to reflect on our choices, and to align ourselves with God's greater plan. It teaches us that, by closing a cycle, We are not losing, but rather preparing for something greater, something that God has already planned for us. It is a call to spiritual maturity, generosity, and the courage to move forward. The snake, spiritually, is a symbol of renewal, intuition, and profound transformation. In the Bible, the snake is often seen as a symbol of cunning and wisdom, but also of renewal, as it sheds its skin to grow. This act of renewal reflects what God calls us to do in our spiritual lives, to leave behind what is old, what no longer serves us, and to emerge renewed, ready to fulfill the divine purpose. The snake also teaches us about the importance of introspection and connection with our intuition, which is the voice of God speaking in our hearts. It invites us to be strategic, to reflect before acting, and to seek divine wisdom in all our decisions. However, the snake also warns us about the danger of isolation and procrastination, reminding us that transformation only happens when we balance reflection with action. Together, the number 9 and the snake show us that 2025 will be a year of profound spiritual transformation. They call us to close cycles with wisdom, to renew ourselves with courage, and to live with purpose, trusting that God is guiding us every step of the way. You who feel the call of God are part of this greater plan. No matter where you are or what challenges you are facing, know that God has a purpose for your life. He has chosen you to be light, to spread love, and to fulfill a unique mission. This is the moment to embrace that call, to live with courage, and to trust that God is in control. We are not alone on this journey. God is with us, guiding every step and strengthening us so that we can fulfill the purpose He has for us. Chosen ones, I want to know from you, what are you leaving behind in 2025? What seeds do you wish to plant for the future? Share in the comments, because your stories and reflections can inspire other chosen ones to also embrace God's call. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, share it with other chosen ones, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. May God bless you and your journey in this very special year. Let's spread light together and fulfill our mission as chosen ones of God. Until next time.